Welcome in, race fans, to the No Toad Racing League as we kick off the 20th season here with these guys. We are live over on twitch.com at Faded TV and also live on YouTube at No Toad Racing League. We appreciate having you here early on. We got a good pre-race show for you. I'm Faded GG alongside my co-caster Trey Carnes. He's got a lot of history in this league. He is his father ran with these guys way back in the early 2000s, and his brother is a second-generational driver here in the league. So definitely good to have him up into the broadcast booth. We'll start a little bit with some history for No Toad Racing League. This was established in March of 2002, where they did race. They used the NASCAR Racing Season 2002 simulator from Papyrus at the time. And then in 03, they followed the newer version of that sim, where Gary Sargent took over as league director. The No Toad Racing League operated full-time until the spring of 2007 and disbanded during the 15th season. After some time off, Sargent pulled things back together in the early 2020 calendar year. After two more seasons using the NR2K3 simulator, they moved over to the iRacing platform early 2021. As we said, this is season 20 with these guys, but only their third season on the iRacing platform. Over the years, the league has over 100 different members, 11 different season champions, and currently has an active roster of 30 drivers. Now, coming into this season, you got to talk about the driver from last year, the defending champion from season 19, Johnny Brugg, who won half the races last year, 6 out of 12. We'll certainly be keeping an eye on him, not only tonight, but through the season. Hopefully get a chance to talk to him before the race starts tonight. This is the Pepsi 250 being sponsored by Alex Goff, a No Toad Racing League member. So shout out to Alex. We'll get him into the booth here momentarily. As we go through the schedule real quick, they did have a preseason at North Wilkesboro Speedway and Phoenix International Speedway, but here tonight is the official season opener at Talladega Superspeedway. Next week, we'll be at Atlanta Motor Speedway before taking a bye week in celebration or honor of Labor Day. After that, we'll pick up at Iowa Speedway on the 26th, or on the 19th of September. We'll be doing a Daytona road course. So that'll get us halfway through the season. So it looks like a really, really good schedule. Drivers to keep our eye on throughout the season and tonight. Of course, we already talked about Johnny Brugg, defending champ. Skylar Carnes, second-generational No Toad Racing League. His father, Jeff Carnes, raced from Season 3 through Season 7 and won 3 of the final 6 events last season and both Season 20 preseason races. The 45 car of Al Corey has finished second in points for 3 seasons in a row. He's looking to take that first. That's a long time to finish P2 there. So Al Corey, definitely a consistent and fast driver, looking to get his first season championship. The 27 car of Marty Rogers was a rookie in season 19 and finished third in points. So he comes in to this season with some momentum. Dustin Barton in that 13 car was a rookie last year, finished fourth in points as well. And the 33 car of Dixon is a 3-time No Toad Racing League champion, his most recent in season 17. We do have quite a bit of rookies joining the league this season, so that should make for some interesting as these guys go through their growing pains. I'm going to kick it off and introduce my co-caster here, Trey Carnes. Trey, how you doing tonight? And it looks like he might be AFK for the moment as everybody's starting to get settled in here before tonight's race. We'll get him back in the booth here momentarily. No biggie there. moving on to some pre-race interviews, though, with some of these drivers, as we still have about 20 minutes before we qualify. Let's get some admins and some OGs in here, if you will. We're going to pull in Alan Dixon. Alan, do you got a copy?
I do. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I know you talked to me a little bit about the history. You've obviously been here a long time with these guys. But for some viewers at home that are tuning in, or some friends and family that are supporting some of these rookie drivers, why don't you introduce yourself first and foremost and tell us a little bit about the league?
All right, hang on a second. Let me get stopped here. So I'm Alan Slider 3 Dixon. I've been, there's a core group of us that have been together for close to 20 years. I've actually been messing around sim racing since the 90s. So we used to all run together in NASCAR 2002 and 2003. And we ran together until probably about 07, 08. And then real life kind of got in the way for a bunch of us. We basically all just kind of stopped. And myself and Gary Sargent were sitting in a restaurant in Birmingham, Alabama about 2 years ago, and we got to talking about how we missed it. All of us that got together and this and that and the other, so we kind of sat down and started talking about what it would take to put it back together.
Yeah, sir, and that's the part of the story I love. You and Sarge sitting at a diner and reminiscing on the old days. With these simulators, this isn't just something that we do in our free time, and it's not just a hobby. It's a little bit more than a hobby. A lot of people put a lot of money into their setup. Obviously, we spend a boatload of money on iRacing.com for the tracks and the cars. So moving over from that NASCAR game, I know we talked a little bit about it, but switching over to iRacing and just realizing that the equipment goes up, you got to buy each individual track and you got to buy the cars. Was that something that you guys were intimidated by? And, what do you think the benefit of having, these laser scan tracks in iRacing?
Well, for myself, I was actually one of the beta testers for iRacing in 08. So I was involved in it before it ever went live. I think it went live the end of June of 2008. So I knew back then what the cost model was, how they'd set it up. But to your point of what you're asking is, we sat down as a group, the admin group sat down and talked about a year ago this time about possibly transitioning over to this, and how was the way to make it as painless as possible for the other people in the league or for people that were not used to doing it. So we sat down to start with the first race. I think the first season we basically ran tracks that came with the sim when you signed up for your subscription, and made them have to buy the ARCA car, but that was basically about all we did. And then we slowly each season have been coming up with 2 or 3 new tracks for them to buy, so we could start to expand out what we're racing.
Definitely some good stuff there, Slider. I appreciate your time and going through there. I really wanted to capture that story with you and Sarge, and I'm happy to be here. I appreciate you guys bringing me in here. Season 20 with No Toad Racing League. We're going to kick it off with Talladega. Good luck to you tonight, sir, and keep her clean and cross that checker. That's what it's all about at these speedways.
It is. Appreciate it, and we really appreciate you being the broadcaster for this. I know you're going to put on a good broadcast for us, and should give everybody some visibility.
Yes, sir. All right, man. We'll talk to you a little later.
Take care.
Yep. Next up, we're going to pull in the gentleman that he had stayed in. That's going to be Gary Sargent in the 28 car tonight. He's a big deal on why these guys have reached season 20. Hey, Sarge, you got a copy?
Yes, sir, I do.
Hey, so we heard a really cool story from Slider Dixon about how you guys, about a year ago, year and a half ago, were sitting in a diner talking, reminiscing about your days on the old NASCAR simulator that you ran in the early 2000s, um, and talking about how much you guys missed it and wanted to get the band back together, so to speak. So here we are, season 20, week 1 at Talladega. Talk to me a little bit what No Toads Racing League means to you and some of the guys that you've been with since the early 2000s.
Yeah, this group of guys, I mean, Slider and I have been best friends since the 2000s, and yet we've only met in person, like 10, 12 times. It's one of those cool, lifetime things that never saw it coming, but, in today's society is how we are. This group of guys, I've met a lot of them, for dinners when I'm traveling, and, we've had a couple of LAN parties and got together and stuff. And I wanted to get it going again because that has been such a big part of my life for many years, from 2002 to 2007. So I wanted to really get that going again.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously you found some success. You did get the band back together. You got quite a bit of rookies here this season. Talk to me a little bit about the recruitment process here. Do you guys go hard on the recruitment, or is it, usually, I know you got some second generational drivers out here tonight. Is it something that, these guys can get involved with, who not necessarily knows somebody already involved, or do you try to keep it tight like that?
We'll talk to anybody that's interested. What we've been doing the last couple of seasons is in between seasons, we would do a 2-week sort of tryouts, Big thing about joining the NTRLs, we just want to make sure that a driver fits the culture. Like it's not all about it's about racing as a group. So what we usually do is we don't just drop somebody new straight into a race, points race. Get them in on Wednesdays because we do practice sessions for 90 minutes with a practice race. New just here in the last few weeks, we've really ramped up our weekly schedule. Actually, Monday night we run the 1934 Legends. Tuesday night, we run the 87 Legend stock cars. I already mentioned Wednesday is the practice. Thursday is our new Gander Truck Series. And Friday, we got some dirt track action going with dirt ovals and dirt road courses. And then Saturdays, we have a new King of the Hill Series, followed by our Saturday night street stocks, which is a blast just to rip those around every Saturday night. So we've got, racing going on every night of the week now. And so even if people aren't interested in ARCA, they can definitely hit us up and get into any of those other series. Or even if they are interested in the ARCA, what we like to do is get them in, let them meet some of the guys, run with us on some of these sessions before we put them into a points race.
Yeah, sure. And then what would be the best way to reach an admin or yourself? I don't think you guys have a Facebook. So what would be the best way of going about getting a hold of somebody, say, hey, I'd like to run some recruitment races with you guys?
That is a really good question. We have kind of kept it a little bit closed off. We've got some posts and stuff. We do have a Facebook group, but it's private. We're going to have to post some stuff up in the chats later, I think. I need to work on how the best way for publicly to reach us.
Yeah, no problem. Obviously, tonight, focus week 1, season 20 at Talladega. Sarge, we appreciate your time here for the pre-race interview. We'll let you get back onto the track, get some more practice laps in before qualifying starting here in about 6 minutes. Sarge, thanks for your time. Good luck tonight.
Thanks, sir. Thank you.
All righty, next we're going to be bringing in race sponsor for the Pepsi 250. This is Alex Goff in the 00 car. Alex, you got a copy?
Yes, I do, sir. How's it going?
Hey, it's going great. So I wanted to pull you in here for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, you're sponsoring week 1 here at Talladega. What a big night it is in the Pepsi 250. I know I touched base with you before the race, but what does it mean for you to be able to invest in a sim racing league? Obviously knowing that you're not going to get a whole lot of exposure. I mean, this is a personal sponsorship, helping these guys out, helping yourself out. What does it mean for you to be able to come in here, slap some money down for a good cause, and be able to sponsor the very first week here?
Yeah, it's really cool. I went to Sarge and I asked him, is there any way I could, sponsor something, if I could, just bring a little bit of exposure to us and keep doing the cool things that we're doing. We're growing this league pretty fast. And with the broadcasting deal, thank you for that. Every little bit's going to help keep everybody together and just have a good time.
Yeah, now switching subjects here, talk to me a little bit about Talladega. I just ran an ARCA race on Thursday. In fact, Sarge gave me a seat in one of his ARCA cars in Midwest Days of Thunder, and we ran Daytona Superspeedway. You can't draft bump in these things. You can side draft a little bit, but you really got to trust the guy beside you to hold his line, and you got to be able to hold your line. Talk to me a little bit about these ARCA cars at these Superspeedways.
Yeah, they are definitely a challenge. Too wide, they're pretty easy to drive. You can hold it straight. Once you start getting 3 wide, they like to move around, and it's a little harder to hold your line. But we got a good group of guys in here, and I think most of them can do that. It should be a good one.
Absolutely. All right, Alex, we appreciate your time. Good luck tonight, and have a good clean race, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
Next up, we're going to be pulling in last season's champion, season 19 champion, Johnny Brugg. Johnny, you got a copy? Well, Johnny might be AFK. We'll have to catch him either. Oh, looks like I hear something. Johnny, you got a copy?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Sorry about that. Hey, I wanted to pull you in. You're coming off a red-hot season last season. You won 6 out of the 12 races last season. Obviously, though, we know every season is different. Are you looking forward to kicking things off at Talladega? What's your mindset going into this season, knowing that you already have a championship under your belt?
Well, it's good to know I got that championship last season, but a lot of new names in here, lots of new competition. Even at the end of last season, there's new guys stepping up, battling. So I'm first few laps just going to see how the field drives, see how these new guys ride around, play a little patiently.
Yeah, sure. Super Speedway, especially Talladega, all about track positioning here. What is your strategy? I know you just said you're going to get a feel for it, but are you going to, is your strategy, quarter of the race, half the race, just being real delicate around the track, and then, with 20 laps or so, really hit it? Or are you going to wait, maybe feel it out for the first 10, 15 laps and then really start going at it?
I'm going to feel it out a little bit, but I'd like to be up front, stay up front, because it gives you the best odds for the crazy mayhem to happen behind you. So I will be pushing, trying to get my way up front. But, yeah, just feeling out the field a little bit.
Absolutely, Johnny. I appreciate your time. We're getting ready to qualify here in a couple of minutes. Good luck to you tonight, and keep that race car clean, brother.
Thank you. I hope it's a good one.
Yes, sir. All righty, so my co-caster was AFK earlier, I believe, but I believe he's back, introducing Trey O'Carnes. Trey, how you doing?
I'm feeling great tonight. I'm ready to get back to racing action here in the No Toes Racing League, starting off for season 20, which is a huge number and a huge accomplishment for this league as they're reaching their 20th season, especially with how the outcome was with last season, with Johnny Brugg coming on top and becoming your season champion. He's going to be defending it tonight with a bunch of rookies in the field. And it's just a lot of pressure, because this is the first time that we probably have like a really good commentating booth here tonight, and my first time back in the booth here on iRacing for a while. So a lot of pressure, not too much, but I just want to make sure everything goes perfectly right tonight.
Yeah, and we'll wash out all the kinks. For you guys watching at home, this is actually our first race together. So if we do hiccup or we do fumble over each other once or twice, go easy on us. This is our first time together. But Trey, talk to me a little bit as we get ready to go into the qualifying session here. We'll have a couple of minutes to kind of discuss a few things. I talked about it at the top of the broadcast. I'm sure you already know where I'm going with this, but your dad raced with these guys early on. So you and your brother, who's driving here tonight, grew up with sim racing. Tell me a little bit about how this strong passion / hobby impacted you guys growing up, and now here you guys are on the iRacing platform.
Growing up for Skyler, for him at least, he has been into sim racing for a while now, and I was into like NASCAR and all that growing up, and sim racing. I never even knew my dad was a sim racer until I found out about this league. But racing has influenced our family a lot, especially with Skyler and I. It has good chemistry between us two. We always go in to tune into the NASCAR races every week, or just basic races, even the Coca-Cola NASCAR Cup Series on iRacing itself. I tune into that frequently because sim racing it's others don't understand what all goes into it, but once you get to know it, you just have a burning passion for it, and you love it every weekend and week out. And it just helps my brother and I get along so much, especially seeing him race here in that number 47 Trade Cards Designs Pontiac scheme. I think it's a Pontiac still, but it just means a lot, especially with iRacing as well, since they converted from NR 2003 to iRacing recently, which is a more performed sim racing, delicate sim racing platform than NR 2003 with its arcade physics. But yeah, that's sim racing just in general. It means a lot to me still because you were able to drive at home, just racing at home, basically. Something that you can't really do in real life if you don't have the money and such to get yourself an actual race car to drive anywhere. All you got to get yourself is a nice wheel and an iRacing subscription, and you're set.
Yeah, and as much as expensive as iRacing can get, as I'm sure a lot of our wives know already, and girlfriends and whatnot, it's still cheaper than a real race car. As we do enter the qualifying session here at Talladega. What are you looking forward to most with these ARCA cars at a super speedway kicking off week 1?
What you're looking forward is the aerodynamics, making sure your car can handle all those speeds, reaching through the corners, especially whenever you're qualifying. You want to stay on that top lane to get that acceleration, that speed you want, so you can perform those corners perfectly, so you can be yourself on top. Because if you qualify in the mid pack, or especially in the mid pack, and if there's a big one, there's no way you're going to probably avoid that unless you have some insane driving capability skills. So qualifying is a major key here, especially at a super speedway with the ARCA cars.
Yeah, making sure you keep that track position. You want to be you want to be up front as much as possible, or as far back as you can be. Definitely not wanting to get into the middle of this. As we pull up some race info for you guys, you've heard us talk about it a couple of times. We're going to bring it up again. This is No Toads Racing League Season 20, Week 1, kicking off at Talladega. This is the Pepsi 250, presented by race sponsor Alex Goff. If you guys are tuning in on YouTube at No Toad Racing League, we appreciate you. I do have my Twitch down at the bottom, twitch.com/fadedtv__. I've been looking for an ARCA series to call for a little while now. Talked with Sarge about this earlier in the week. We got everything inked in for a full season of racing here, and I couldn't be more excited as we get through the qualifying session. We'll pull the times back up for you, and so far I don't hear any cars on the tracks. It looks like Aaron Sire taking the pole. So we'll be going around briefly with some of these guys. There's Aaron Sire coming out of Riverside, California. You see the NTRL on the top right of that driver info, ARCA driver. We got Hayes Jr. so far, P2, with the sideways picture there. That's okay. No problem there, Hayes. He's coming out of Virginia. And third is Michael McCuskey, Temple, Texas, one-time winner in No Toad Racing League ARCA Menard Series. In fourth is going to be Al Corey. Shout out to Al. He is an admin and a veteran driver here coming out of Dallas, Texas. He helped us out getting some of these overlays set up earlier this morning. So we appreciate Al. Looks like he's going to be starting P4 for this race if that time holds. And rounding out your top 5 is going to be John Campbell in that triple-digit 117 car. So we'll get the clutter off your screen. We'll bring up that track map periodically through the race. What that does is just allow you guys at home not to really be able to keep up, with your favorite drivers. It's obviously a small track map, but what it's going to allow you to do is gather that information on where the action is happening, if they're really packed up front, what, Pack 2 looks like here at the Superspeedway Trey. You're going to have some drivers in that front pack that are just simply out a couple of seconds from the second pack. We might even have a third pack. That's how these super speedways can get.
I agree with you. You're going to see the drivers trying to fight for position, especially for the first lap, but you always want to have someone to push with and guide you, especially here at a super speedway, because draft is a major key factor for today's race. Since we're at Talladega, the largest known super speedway in the world, draft is going to be a major factor, especially in just your driving capabilities, because no matter what, super speedways don't always decide about draft. It decides how you're able to drive and maneuver within the cars and the pack and such.
Yeah, that's right. Right now on your screen, the top 12 drivers. Sorry about that. Top 12 drivers in the qualifying session. We went through the top 5. Sitting in that 6th position is going to be Joe Tucci, Jason Benson 7th, Marty Rogers going to be in that 8th spot, Alan Dixon 9th, and Jacob Klinkhart in that 10th spot. Sid Kashishian in 11th, and Alex Goff, your race sponsor for tonight, in P12 as we get underway here with our pace laps.
The first opening lap, the pace laps of the 20th season here of NTRL on iRacing, season opener here at Talladega. It's going to be a big race here, especially with all the rookies in the field and how much No Toads has been spread across, with last season topping out with 60 viewers at the ending of the season. And now we're having a good amount of viewers tonight, 29 on the YouTube channel. Thank you for everyone watching tonight. Hopefully they put on a good show for all of us here.
Yeah, and as you see, we switch over from a time session to the lapped session. 94 laps here, Trey, at Super Speedway. That is a lot of laps at a Super Speedway. Obviously, it's not full-length race, but, I mean, that gives these drivers a lot of times, especially with having one quick repair to their use and 4 sets of tires. There's going to be plenty of time to make some moves, gain some track positions, and make sure you're there racing at the end.
Definitely. I agree with that fully.
So let's catch up with the field here. Get out of the scenic route. We'll catch up with that 73 car of Aaron Sire, your pole leader for week 1. How much pressure is on him right now? Obviously, a lot of these drivers have nerves, but you always want to qualify P1. But once you get up there, what's going through his head right now?
Best thing that's going through his head is maintaining that number 1 position on the track. He's starting off with the first pit stop, or the first pit stall on pit road, which is a major factor in the racing that others don't understand. But there's a lot of pressure on him because he needs to know who's going to push him, who's going to not, if that inside lane is going to deteriorate and that outside is going to prevail.
Yeah, obviously the start of the race, we're going to go on green, but I believe per rules here at No Toad Racing League, all restarts are going to be on the green flag drop, which we're about to get here and get underway. The 20th season of No Toad Racing League, week 1 at Talladega, and there is the green flag. You see that 2 car up high, giving plenty of room for that leader on the inside.
Oh yeah, plenty of room there about that number 2. But the 45 going to go down to that inside. Basically opposite of what I said, that it looks like that outside lane is going to deteriorate itself and everyone's going to go down to that inside.
Yeah, moves being made already before we get out of turn 2. Now we are there onto the backstretch. You see the 1 and 2 car. We're already getting a move here onto the inside. That's the 22 car of Michael McCuskey, I believe is how you pronounce that. He's going to be on the inside of that 73.
73. He's trying to look down a little bit on the, I think that's the 117 car. He was just trying to move down and force them underneath the double yellow on the backstretch a little bit.
Yeah, that's some risky business coming out of Aaron Sire. Not too sure if that was an intentional block. He might have just been nervous, scared to lose the draft on that 23 car. Nonetheless, is going to force that 117 of John Campbell down, like you said. And here comes that high line. We're 3 wide on lap 2 going into turn 1.
3 wide already. You can see these drivers getting really antsy here for track positions and such, trying to make their way up to the field as the 94 of Joe Tucci, or however you pronounce his last name, almost hit the wall there on the outside lane coming in turn 2.
Yeah, he makes a move. That is Tucci up 4 spots in the beginning. But as we see, last season's champion, Johnny Brugg, not with the qualifying that he wanted. How the heck has he gained 18 spots? He's your new race leader here at Talladega.
Johnny Brugg, he knows how to maneuver these cars. He said during the pre-race, he said he was going to see how these drivers are going to be able to drive tonight, especially with the rookies in the field, and he learned them just a snap of that. He's your pole leader. Well, not pole leader. He's sitting up front.
Yeah, he's your race leader. As we see that high line starting to get a little bit of an edge. We're actually 3 wide here at Talladega, but Talladega being a pretty wide track here, you're going to be able to do that successfully again as long as you can trust the guy that's on the inside. I really don't see a problem with some early 3 wide action. It looks like a lot of these drivers, as we talked about, been in the sim for a long time. And if there was a league where you could trust the guy on the outside, this would be the one. However, Trey, I believe I counted about 7 or 8 rookie drivers here tonight.
And one of the rookie drivers driving tonight is that number 8 of Jaden Conster. I have some history with him, good friend of mine and such. Drive that number 8 Budweiser scheme for Delnart Jr. It's his first debut here tonight in the No Toes Racing League.
Yep, so 4 clean laps here. These guys have already found it 3 wide, but as we just talked about, keeping it really clean. There's a lot of space here on this track. Quite impressive start here. Obviously, Johnny Brugg with the most impressive, but overall, what a fine job by these drivers to kick us off here early on.
Talking about Jaden Conster, he was able to pull Skylar Carnes up to the lead. They're up to first place in second place now, easing their way on that outside lane, pulling ahead of Johnny Brugg.
Yeah, and that's something we're going to see quite a bit here at these super speedways. You're going to see a lot of lead changes, especially early on until we really get into a long green run here. You're going to see some momentum on the high side, and then within just a turn, that inside's going to impact that. Here with these ARCA cars, it's really about once these cars start getting some separation, you definitely want to find yourself, whether it's the inside line or the high line, you really want to find yourself with the most cars in this plate racing, because the more cars you can get into a draft, the faster you're going to go.
Agree with that. It's all about the aerodynamics because of the car and all that funky stuff that I have a little bit of knowledge on, but yeah, bigger lines mean you're faster throughout. Because if you're just like in a 2-car packet, there's like 5 on your inside, you're just gonna be a sit and duck. At 2 against 5, there's nothing you can really do unless you go drop down into that lane where the fastest at.
Yeah, as you see these guys up front, only 2 cars, single file. Everybody in the back here still fighting for position. We see 2 lines right now, and everybody giving each other plenty of room. We got Tyler Merritt up 10 spots early on. He's back in 15th. We talked about Brugg up front, already up 18 spots. Kendall Kerr in that 9th position, cracking the top 10 tonight, up 12 positions. So, Trey, we already see some of these drivers taking full advantage of this wide track and getting up into a lot of positions.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. It's the beginning of the race. All these drivers are hungry. They've been waiting for this season opener for a while, especially with all the pre-races going on in these past couple of weeks. They'll just finally be back ready here on the track, and they're trying to get as much as position as possible for strategy and offset to come into play.
Yeah, and as you guys can see at the top of your screen with the NASCAR ticker presented by SDK Software, 33 drivers making tonight's race. And here we go. This is what we talked about a little bit early on. We already have 1 pack with a bunch of cars, but behind them we have a second pack. Oh, and it looks like we got some contact between the 22 and somebody else. Not too sure that's going to bring out a caution. Both drivers were able to save it. Good job by both those.
I think it was between the 22 and I think it was the 53. The 53 of Tyler Merritt. I guess he just turned up right into him in the middle of turns 3 and 4, and they got some damage. And that's not a good thing. You don't want any damage on your race car here because that's going to affect the aerodynamics of your draft.
Yeah, good call there as we see both drivers actually heading down pit road there. It didn't look like it was that big of a lick, Trey, but like you just said, you got to make sure you got a clean front. The rear, you still got to take care of, obviously, because that does affect aerodynamics. But once you start getting up into that wall, of course, we saw that 22 car damage to the left and to the right. So both those guys are going to come down pit road and take full advantage of their one quick repair. But it's real early for that. These guys are going to have to be careful throughout the rest of this race.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. That's the only way they can get back into this race as of now. But if there's a big one and they're involved, I guess the night will be done, because using that fast repair so early in a race, especially without the big one even happening just so yet, it's going to affect their strategy and such. And they're going to have to, like you just said, they're going to have to be real careful how they race tonight.
Lap 9, almost lap 10, as we are on the backstretch of this. Your race leader still Skylar Carnes, maybe getting lessons from his father, not to get too wrapped up in that. I almost sound like when Dale Earnhardt Jr. won at Daytona, but but not to get too sentimental here. Obviously, way two different worlds, but learning lessons from his father to get up here at Talladega. And being able to maintain that lead throughout. Obviously, that high line getting a run, but it looks like the 47 car and that 8 car you mentioned, Jaden Konsturk, I believe, pushing him along on that inside line.
Those two have great chemistry as well, especially knowing each other for a couple of years. They both know the sim race perfectly, especially here at plate tracks. That's what Jaden Konsturk is really great at, is plate track racing, and he's doing it so well. Especially for a rookie in second place right now.
We appreciate you guys tuning in here. These guys are about to get up on some lapped traffic here. Of course, those being those 2 cars that came down to use a quick repair. And now we're going to start seeing some sticky situations here. Of course, they're going to get up high onto the track as much as they can, but we've been 2-3 wide pretty much this whole race.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The driver's still trying to fight whichever lane they want to go to. Coming in the tri-oval, the 22 and the 53 are up high. They're trying to work together with that damage they had, but they've already used their fast repair. But being a lap down, especially at a super speedway, not really great.
Yeah, that's right. Certainly waiting for a caution. The 22 car and I believe the 53, both fighting for that lucky dog. So no need to go into panic mode here if you're either of those drivers. We have 94 laps here at Talladega. The cautions are going to come out for sure. Right now, their only job is to maintain pace to where they don't fall a second lap down, so that when there is a caution, these guys can start getting some laps back.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
So it looks like we have a new race leader here on that inside line, now being pushed by Skylar Carnes, who falls back to P2. That's going to be Scott McCarris leading your race, and there it is as they spin out on the front
Johnny
stretch.
Brugg, everyone involved. Luckily, there was a fast repair, but that's only the first one, especially only on lap 11 or lap 12. And it happens. Johnny Brugg got the worst end of it. His car was 2 wheels off the ground.
Yeah, a bunch of guys involved in there. I don't see any names, unfortunately. We'll try to have to wing this replay for you guys, but right now we're going to take a look on TV camera 1, and we are going to be highlighting Johnny Brugg there. As you just said, looks like he got the brunt of that. He's going to have to come down. It looks like the only other names that I have is Kendall Kerr and Jason Benson, so we're going to have to try to get a hold of some of these numbers here in this caution. As you see, the 1 car just getting driven under from the 5 car of Jacob Klinkhart, the 30, the 2, the 94 car.
Major. I wouldn't say it is the big one so far, because it's only on lap 12, but it's still major damage. You see Johnny Brugg working like a modified car out there with how much damage he has.
That was a nasty one as we catch the back end of this. These guys doing everything they can, locking the brakes, trying to minimize damage, but that's going to be a good 5 to 6 cars probably coming down using that quick repair early. And as you said, that's probably not going to be the biggest one we see here tonight.
Especially them being involved in a wreck so early using their fast repair. It's going to have to change up their strategy, and they're also going to have to be super careful for the rest of this race.
We see the 42 car. That's Jason Benson getting an off track here into the grass, but I think he will take that. over hitting anybody. So good job by Jason Benson. I'm not too sure who was behind him to be able to avoid that, but very heads-up driving by a couple of those drivers to be able to make it out of that clean.
Reaction time for some of these drivers are critical. Well, reaction time in racing is critical. Just like how Jason Benson did right now, he'll take probably a little bit of damage to the front splitter instead of having his whole front split off like Johnny Brugg here.
Yeah, as we take a look here at the end of pit lane, so we can see the race off of pit lane. I know we've kind of talked about it a couple of times, but I just want to make sure everybody at home kind of gets an idea of just how important plate racing is at these super speedways. On some tracks that are, obviously the half miles I'm not even going to talk about. You could literally have your car beat to heck out there and still race. But even with the tracks that are, a mile long, maybe a little bit more than that, you can come down pit road and ignore some of those optional repairs if you have 20 seconds, 30 seconds of optional repairs. But here at the Speedway, you can't really survive. I mean, you got to make sure you stay in your pit box and take care of that optional repair.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Damage can affect a race car, especially here at plate racing tracks, so significantly. Well, you know what I'm saying. I cannot pronounce, but especially because, like I said, with the aerodynamics and how the cars handle, especially the plate tracks, you want a clean race car basically throughout the whole race. And with that fast repair, you're able to do so. But like I said, you're gonna have to be critical of the whole race and watch everything and make sure you're making the perfect move every single time. So you don't get involved again.
You really got to make sure you're making significant moves.
You got to make significant moves.
All right, that is your race off pit road. It looks like, I'm sorry if I butcher this name on that number 2 car. It looks like Jugius Hayes. I'm sure I'm butchering that. I apologize if you go back and watch this, Hayes. Let me know how to pronounce that, or if you just prefer for me to call you Hayes, that is fine as well. But he's going to win the race off pit road, as we do have a significant crash here. We are under caution at Talladega. This is week 1, No Toads Racing League, celebrating their 20th season, and we appreciate everybody on YouTube and Twitch tuning in to tonight's action.
Thank you all for your help and support and watching us tonight for this. There's a major event going on right now, especially for their 20th season and them going around since I was a year old. And now look at here, I'm commentating in the league. Drivers have been racing in this longer than I've been alive. So, major accomplishment here tonight for No Toads Racing League.
Yeah, and as the notifications come in, I appreciate the follows over on Twitch. We appreciate all the love being shown on YouTube. We know family and friends tuning in. You guys don't know how important it is for the sim racers. It means everything to them when you can tune into one of their races. Now, going back to that, we talked prior to that caution, a couple of those cars that were involved in the early going. It looks like the 22 car of Michael McCuskey, I think, got the lucky dog there. If you figure that out and I'm wrong, please correct it. But I think he's going to get the lucky dog here in this early caution.
If Michael McCuskey does get the lucky dog, then he's going to be able to be set and be back on the lead lap after that little incident in the wall in 3 and 4. But like I said, he's going to have to be extra careful. The majority of these guys now, half the pack's going to have to be extra careful because of the fast repair. Luckily, they have a fast repair. If they didn't, then we'd be seeing probably half the pack gone already.
Yeah, absolutely. And can't stress it enough, guys that are watching at home. One quick repair for these drivers here at Talladega. I know some leagues don't run any quick repairs, but at the super speedways, especially with the ARCA cars, it might feel like one quick repair is solid, but once it's gone, it's gone. And we still got a lot of racing left. And as we saw from that caution, last season's champion, Mr. Brugg, who races way up to the front early on, having to use that. So that might change his mindset a little bit here. Moving into the race, we'll see if he hangs back a little bit moving forward.
Definitely is going to, especially for it being the first race, you don't want to really affect your points here, but it's only the first race. Points aren't really going to sell much. But the pace car is pulling down pit road, so we're about to go back racing here at Talladega.
Yeah, and these drivers have very, very specific instructions. You are to leave 0.2 of a gap. So we definitely don't want these guys right onto the bumpers of the car in front of them. Those are very specific. We keep seeing that high line giving plenty of room. Of course, the 34 car of Scott Kelly getting a really good jump off there. But as you guys can see here on the restarts, very specific rules. Wanting to keep it clean to make sure we avoid back-to-back cautions.
Definitely, especially with a little racing incident we just had now with all the drivers not having their fast repair. If they get into another one just now, some drivers going underneath the double yellow.
Yeah, and I think that's a strategy there. I think a couple of those cars are going under the yellow. They're letting some of these drivers past them. I see this a lot at plate racing, at Daytona especially, and we see it here again at Talladega. They drop below that yellow line. They let the big pack go, and they'll all jump back into the draft together, and that's just to avoid any kind of big wrecks here as we're only on lap 16.
Very smart strategy by the boys in the back, trying to keep it safe and playing it safe, especially with this race just beginning. We're only on lap 17. Basically lap 17 out of 94. They get into another incident, their night's done.
Yeah, certainly something that you have to communicate with each other. You definitely don't want to take the risk of dropping out of the racing line and falling out of the draft when you're there all by yourself. That's not a good feeling. So definitely got to trust the guys behind you when you say, hey, I'm going to drop down low. Anybody want to come with me? And we saw, I think, about 4 drivers, maybe 5, do that.
Very smart move by the drivers in the back.
So back up front, it is the 47 car of Skylar Carnes. You see Jaden on there, my co-broadcaster. Said it a couple of times. These guys have a lot of driving rapport with each other. I'm sure if there's anybody Skylar trusts, it's going to be Jaden on that back bumper. As you see the 47 and the 8 with a nice, comfortable line here.
Especially with these ARCA cars, you're going to have to be careful while pushing, especially in the corners, or just pushing in general, because then you can get a little bit of bumper lock, and you're going to just turn the driver in front of you. That's the last time I remember. You just got to be very careful while pushing with these ARCA cars.
Yeah, and it looks like we have a nice single file line going back to about 7th spot. We get to that 5 car of Jacob Klinghardt trying to get something going on the outside. He's got 2 cars following suit with a third a little bit behind. If these guys can group back together, we'll see if anybody joins them on that high side. But right now, that inside line cooking up, as you see the 5 car making a surge towards the front. He's got help from that 30 of Kendall Kerr. Trying to push it up front, trying to track down Skylar Carnes and Jaden. So far, those 2 working together here at Talladega. Skylar Carnes and Jaden, believe it or not, both up 21 spots in the early going. Kendall Kerr up 17 spots. We see Scott Kelly in 6th. He is up 14 spots, but right now, Ken Olsen, your biggest climber so far, maybe due to that caution back here in the 51. He's sitting P11, up 22 spots.
Wow. As we also look at that outside lane forming up pretty well. A bunch of drivers dropping there, or dropping up high and driving down low. Which lane do you want to choose? I mean, that's the most critical thing about racing here at plate racing tracks, is that the lane's always going to be changing. Oh, almost had a little incident there with the 5 car coming down a little bit while the 34 was still on his tail, making it 3 wide, and he was able to drop down successfully. Yeah,
and I was going to say, right before that happened, there was a nice little gap between that 8 car and the car behind him, and I was curious to see if Jacob Klinghardt was going to ditch that high side and go onto the inside, and he did, and that's going to be something that 30 car remembers going through the race, as he did help that 5 car of Jacob get pushed to the front. And as soon as he saw an opening, he dipped back down low. That's going to be something that 30 car remembers next time before he, because you're always looking for good drafting partners, whether your teammates or not, here on these super speedways.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that fully. That's the best thing about it. Well, that's one thing you got to keep in mind at plate racing tracks is how good of a drafting partner will you have? Are they going to... Oh! Trouble!
That's going to be a big one.
Oh! Everyone's involved. Everyone's involved. Jaden Conister was on the back of the 47. Just turned... Like I was telling you, you got to be careful with these ARCA cars or you're going to have a bad bumper lock and such.
Yeah, there are so many cars involved here. We're actually going to take a look at this, I think, from the sky. Let's get on to Skylar Carnes. Let's go back at the start of this yellow flag, and we're going to take a look at this from the chopper cam in iRacing because there was a lot of cars involved. Whoops. Let me go back and make sure we're on the right driver. There we go, as we see the start of that. And you see the carnage, even in front of him. I mean, look at all this carnage. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, the good news for your brother, Skylar Carnes, is he wasn't wrapped up in that first caution, so he's going to have a quick repair. I think a lot of those guys up front will. We see Scott McCarkis involved in this, too. Let's see if we can get... So this was the action that happened after the initial. These ARCA cars do not have very good brakes at all, for the record. Not that you would have been able to slam on that in any car, I don't think, to avoid that. But especially with these ARCAs, you're locking them up and you're just going for a ride there.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. These ARCA cars are really, really tacky to work with and such, but just major wreck in 3 and 4. Probably some of those drivers who were involved in the first wreck, that could be the end of their night, or they can try to get as much damage as they can repaired. Not a full, sustainable 100% car, though. But
yeah, Matt Piracini involved in that. Jason Benson involved in that. I mean, just like you said, and it looks like Kendall Kerr actually had to jump to pit, so that's not good for him. Scott Kelly involved in that as well. Looks like they're not going to give us a replay on that. But nonetheless, a lot of people involved here. And as some of these drivers are jumping back to the pits, I'll have to try to play catch up with the cameras. You see that 117 thinking that his ride was over, and he gets smacked in the back of that 117 car. So now I would say it's safe to say half of these drivers have already or will certainly be using their one and only fast repair of the night.
Especially still this early in a race. Now every driver so far is basically going to have to play safety mode right now. That's the thing about plate racing. Like, you just got to be smart with the moves you make. You got to be 100% aware of your surroundings every single time.
So on a big one like that, that's when, and I know a lot of these drivers have raced with each other for a long time, but a wreck like that, with as much race as we have left, this is when the frustration starts to boil over. Whether you guys are, whether these guys are friends or not, obviously, we put these leagues together to be competitive and run really well. So when you're out there on the track, you're always kind of pointing fingers here, pointing fingers there. So definitely early on, a lot of these drivers going to be frustrated, and we'll see which one of these guys get back onto the track and really start pushing it, or the ones that can keep a cool head about themselves and just kind of take a deep breath after that and say, hey, plenty of race left. Let's take it easy, and let's get back up to the front.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree with that. With racing, everyone has their moments. Whenever they have a flare-up or just the adrenaline flowing, especially after this one. I agree with you fully there with what you just stated with drivers and hot-headed, pointing fingers here and there, because as a human knows, you don't see your actions, what others can. So you're just going to point a finger at someone, even though you were probably the main incident about that.
Yeah, we're going to pull in third place driver right now, Gary Sarge. Sarge, you got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Hey, so we thought the first wreck, we kind of assumed that wasn't going to be the biggest one, although Brugg might disagree. He took the blunt end of that. He was able to get a quick repair going. He's back up onto the front row, but that was a pretty big one there. How's your car? Did you have to come down to use a quick repair?
No, actually, I'm in good shape. I was in the second pack on that first one, so I had to check up a little hard on the last one, so I didn't hit Johnny as we were slowing. But I'm still in good shape.
How are the comms right now in the voice chat? Are there finger pointing? Is there blame, or is everybody keeping a cool head about themselves?
A little bit of frustration going on right now that I'll have to check after the replay. I've reminded them no bump drafting because these cars cannot handle it, but I'll have to look at it after the race.
All right, Gary, we appreciate you, man. Good luck, and good job avoiding that wreck.
Thanks, sir.
That was league owner Gary Sarge. You heard it from him, Trey, was back in that second pack, being able to avoid all that. One of our drivers that still has his quick repair left.
Yeah, that's actually really surprising and really smart of him to do, stay in that second pack, especially dropping down, because that's the thing you want to do here. Just stay away, especially being in that mid-pack. If you're in the mid-pack of a big one, you have nowhere to go. You're just going to be on the bad side of the consequence.
Yeah, and it is not easy to be that patient. Like we talked about it at that restart, some guys dropping back. That's not easy to do. As a race car driver, you want to push. And it looked like that strategy that we talked about with some of those drivers pulling back certainly paid off on that one.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I guarantee you they're patting themselves in the back right now, being like, go me.
That's right. But as we said in the interview, as we get back to Green Flag Racing here, that number one car back onto the track and back up front on the outside of row one going into turn one.
Johnny Brugg, one of the most dominant drivers we saw last season, becoming your season 19 champion. He's glad to be back out front now. His car doesn't look like a SK modified. It looks clean, has a lot of repairs to it, especially the fast repair. But he's finally at the top of the pack right now.
Yeah, and we see the same strategy being out. Maybe not as many cars this time, but we do see some cars on the backstretch, back under that yellow line. There's a couple of cars going to do that again. Just try to make sure they avoid this. Lap 25, that was the biggest one so far, but I don't think we're done seeing the big wrecks here at Talladega.
No, I was about to just say that. There's still going to be plenty of wrecks here. Because we're still so early in the race, not even halfway. There's still going to be plenty of wrecks. There's a bunch of drivers in that second pack right now, but also with two packs, no matter what. With this front pack, there might not be a wreck in this one, but in the second pack, there definitely could be. Even though if they are precautious and such, you still have racing incidents happen on the track, no matter what pack you're in.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that Jaden Konsturk is still on pit road, so I'm not too sure if he was involved in that first wreck and is out of quick repairs, but that is bad news if you're Skylar Carnes, as those guys were working in tandem so successfully early on. His drafting partner and buddy looks like he's going to be out of this race momentarily.
Yeah, that has my head scratching because I don't believe I saw him in the first wreck. I guarantee, because I know he did initiate with that second wreck with pushing too hard on the number 47, Skylar Carnes. But I wonder, I'm asking the same thing. Why is he on pit road? Because, I mean, he still has a fast repair. Because I know for sure he wasn't involved in the first wreck. So I might have to go back and look at that. But, yeah, that's a big head scratcher for me.
Yeah, we see Gary Sarge up there in P1 rooting for the wrong Florida team. You got to start rooting for that pewter red down there in Tampa, Florida, but nonetheless rocking that Jacksonville Jaguars ARCA. Proud up in P1. We got Johnny Brugg on the outside, the 94 car of Joe Tucci, who's up 3 spots since the beginning of this race. I believe has led a lap or two here, and Will Jester in 4th. So he's up 12 spots. A fine job out of that 74 car.
Most definitely. And position, I mean, with plate racing. Come on now, like you just gotta be. I can't stress it enough. Everyone just has to be careful and take it slow, especially since we're only on lap 28. Still plenty of racing left. If you're getting a little bit impatient, if you want to get impatient, I would wait until lap until there's 10 to go. Not even that, probably 5 to go. That's whenever you start pushing it to its limits and such. But you're just, I don't know. A lot going through mind right now.
Yeah, I'm sure that is actually going through quite a bit of these drivers' heads right now. On lap 28, we've seen 2 big wrecks. They're definitely thinking, okay, now's the time to really start considering that could be me next time. And we might see some of these drivers, obviously up front, you got to keep pace, right? I mean, you are pedal to the metal. But we might start seeing some of these other drivers prefer that second pack, knowing that there's enough cars back there to keep a good pace.
Most definitely, like how you're saying with the front pack, they're going to have to be the ones keeping up the pace, and that's going to be where the most incidents are going to happen at, 'cause everyone just has to stay with their momentum and such. And just if you're in the second pack, you're just falling behind, making sure nothing else happens. Also, still being careful while you're driving the race car. But most preferably, if I was in this situation, I'd be in the second pack. I'd be there all day until there's like 10 to go.
Yeah, we see that Bud car. I don't know who that is. Let me see if I can get a number. It looks like 65. So that might be Scott McCarris. They're starting to work that third line up there, even after seeing that. But like we just said, when you're up front, it's go time. And if you think you can make that 3 wide work, then go for it. He's getting pushed by that 30 car. And it looks like they're going to make it work on that third row.
Most definitely, but you still got to be cautious, especially with it being 3 wide, especially with half the field being a lot of rookies in this league. You just got to know who you want to work with, but if it's working well for them, then they got to keep doing it. If they think they have the motivation and just the mentality state to work that outside lane, the very outside lane, then go for it.
Yeah, and I think it's always tough for these rookie drivers, too, in a week 1 race, because you want to prove to the league that you can run up front, you can be competitive, but the last thing you want to do is be a rookie driver who might be over-driving his car and cause the big one. So there's definitely a lot of pressure on these rookie drivers to do a bit of both. You want to stay competitive, but you also want to make sure you're keeping your bumper off anybody else.
Most definitely, especially if you... Johnny Brugg pushing it a little bit too much there, trying to come down into that middle lane, but he's scraped a little bit of the 74, it seemed like, or can't remember who, but he was coming down a little bit from that top side, almost caused another caution. Luckily, they're able to fix it back out and adjust themselves.
Yeah, and he falls out of line momentarily, but was able to recoup that, and you can see the 74 car of Will Jester, and I believe the 22 car of Michael McCuskey following suit behind him, so they'll be single file back down to 2 wide racing down into turn 1, lap 32. This is the No Toad Racing League celebrating their 20th season here with the ARCA cars at Talladega week 1. I mean, that's some impressive stuff there to be in your 20th season.
Yeah, it really, really is. And only being 18 years old and just coming here fully for a full-time season of the 20th season, it is Sarge to be proud of himself for making it to 20 seasons. I heard something in the back pack for a second. I could be wrong, but Sarge should be proud of himself for making it to 20 seasons, especially in the sim racing world, for this league being around just since the 2000s. Like, that is a major, major accomplishment.
Yeah, and if you missed the top of the broadcast, these guys really, really new to iRacing. These guys were running a NASCAR 2K3 sim for a while. Before making the switch to iRacing just previous this year, I believe January of 2021. So a lot of these guys that have stuck around with Sarge making the adjustment over to iRacing, and so far it looks like the adjustment has been going pretty good.
Oh yeah, very, very well. I fully support them for converting to iRacing, because NR2 3 personally for me feels more of an arcadey game compared to iRacing, because I'll be honest, I'm not the best sim racer in the world, especially in iRacing, but whenever I was in NR2003, I felt like I was able to do more on there than here. So iRacing does give more of a challenge to these sim racers, especially who's been racing for years and years and who have been used to NR2003.
We see Johnny Brugg right onto that back bumper of Joe Tucci, pushing him up into first. The 94 says thanks, but I'm going to take it down low and get in front of Gary Sargent. You'll see a lot of that. Some of these drivers that get pushed onto the outside line will work their way to the bottom any chance they get. It's nothing personal to the driver that was drafting with them. It's just something that they prefer. A lot of guys don't like being up there against that wall. So we see the 94 car dropping down low in front of Sarge. But as we say that, Gary Brugg now getting the push from your brother in that 47 car, Skylar Carnes. He's going to drop down low and take over this race lead.
Most definitely. Johnny Brugg, and just Skylar gave him the push there. And then just like how you said, he's like, thank you. Drops right back down. And Skylar right there is a sitting duck, but he's going to be able to get some help on the outside lane with the 22, but a little bit of difficulties there with the 53. Especially, that's one thing you've got to keep in mind here is side draft. You haven't even pulled it up. You're able to side draft the car, take a little bit of momentum off, and that's how you're able to take advantage of someone.
Yeah, we see the 53 car maybe doing a little too much, trying to stay out of the way. He's going to do some wall riding. You see that 8 car on the bottom below the yellow line, so he's back onto the track. I'd be interested to get him into the booth and get a interview with him, but unfortunately he is not in the Discord because, as you said, you don't believe that he was involved in that first caution, so that he should have had a quick repair left.
I could actually get some insider because my brother is actually downstairs driving, and I'm pretty sure those two are in a call, so I can go make a little quick trip downstairs and get some feedback.
Well, that is 1,000% your call. I don't want to bother Skylar, but he's your brother, so you know him more than I do. But yeah, if you could get some insider information, great. Or if you want to wait till just the next caution to make that trip, maybe we can leave Skylar up there handling his business down in the basement as he is back up to P1, sliding onto the inside.
I agree with that statement fully. We'll wait till the next caution whenever it happens, but we'll get the answer soon eventually.
Let me ask you this. It looks like we're going to be doing some green flag pit stops. Is Skylar the older brother or the younger brother?
He is the older brother.
We'll leave you in.
I'm the youngest. So.
Yeah, we'll leave you in the broadcast booth. Older brothers usually have a chip on their shoulder. So, but now if he is going down and pitting, maybe now's the time to go down there and get in his ear.
Oh, is he right now?
Yes, sir. He's on pit road.
All right, I'll be back in a second.
All righty. We are going to get some live trackside information out of my co-caster's brother, Skylar Carnes. We're going to see what just happened with his drafting buddy in the 8 car. As we said earlier, we thought he had a quick repair left, but after that second caution, he remained in pit road up until just now, which was quite a bit of laps down. So, and that's Jaden Consturk. So we'll get some insider information out of him. Once he returns, we'll have those details for you. But right now, lap 37, the leaders coming down pit road, at least a handful of them, is going to open the race up to Michael McCuskey in the 22 car, leading a lap here at Talladega and the race here. We have a new second place driver, Ileana Hamilton, in that 72 car. That 22, I believe, might still be a lap down. That's why the 72 is showing, or the 37, excuse me, and the 72 car are showing second and third.
So I got some good news, and well, it's just bad news. It turns out the driver of the 47, Skylar Carnes, is in a car with a spotter, and not in a car with Jaden Consturk, but he had a good theory that Jaden Consturk was down in pit road saving his fast repair. That was something we both didn't think about, but he could have been down pit road saving that fast repair for later. But
well, I don't see any sense of saving a fast repair if you're going to go multiple laps down. I'll wait for the relative up top to show, but I mean, he was down pit road for quite a while.
Yeah, most definitely. So it's only a theory, but still a head scratcher for me. Like,
hey, you know what? He's only 2 laps down, so I take that back. Still though, lap 40 we're approaching on. I get trying to save the fast repair. I respect it, but now you're 2 laps down with a couple of drivers that are going to get that lucky dog. So hey, we'll see if it plays out. I've seen some strats like that where I didn't think was going to work at all, and at the end of the race, when it was all said and done, they were back up to the front fighting it out.
Yeah, most definitely. I've known Jaden for years, about 2-3 years, and I know when it comes to strategy, he's someone who's super smart and careful with his strategy. So he might be trying to think of something, but at the same time, he has to have luck on his side, especially with the lucky dog positioning.
Yeah, we will actually drop back all the way down to 23rd here out of the broadcast. I wanted to get a look at Skylar Carnes and Johnny Brugg and Gary Sargent back here in 26th. These drivers all doing green flag pit stops, so I wanted to see who won the race off pit road as we start shuffling through more green flag pit stops. These guys will obviously pick those positions back up, and it looks like Skylar Carnes out in front of Johnny Brugg as they work together to get back up to the front of the field.
We know how Skylar Carnes really, really well with chemistry, especially with he got iRacing back 2019 and he's already made his way up to A class. Very well talented, especially with the 23-year-old behind the wheel. He's had 19 years of sim racing, well, just racing experience in general. He can whoop me any single day on the sim racing track. That's one thing that he has. He's really, really good at racing.
So as we do jump back up front, this is Willie Whitaker leading some laps in his 37 car, so he'll be picking up some bonus points as well. I believe they are doing the standardized rules of that, leading laps, bonus points, etc. So he will be cashing in on that. Second place, Matt Piercini so far. Ileana Hamilton still being able to hold on to P3, up 14 spots. Scott McCarris fourth, and Michael McCuskey rounding out your top 5 here on lap 42.
Like I said earlier in the pre-race, pit strategy and such, I don't believe these drivers have gone down the pit yet. I could be wrong since I ran downstairs and I didn't really saw who all pit. But if Skylar Carnes and Matt Karuk all pit so early, sooner or later these cars are going to have to. And unless the caution comes out.
I don't think it was that many. I would say, most certainly less than a quarter of the field came down pit road. I think it was the majority of the drivers that did go in pit under green were the top 5 drivers. It looks like Skylar, Johnny Brugg, Gary, Will Jester, Joe Tucci, and Kendall Kerr being part of that group that came down pit road under green. Everybody else has stayed out.
All right, so sooner or later these cars are going to have to get some fuel in their system. Maybe some tires if they choose to, but late racing doesn't really. I mean, it has a somewhat effect in what I've learned off. I've only been in sim racing for 3 years, so I'm not really that well educated with it and such. But here comes some takers, like right now, like I just said. People come down pit lane right now.
Yeah, that's the 04 car of Kevin Hansen. Following suit, Ileana Hamilton, Michael McCuskey, Aaron Sayer, all coming down pit road here. We'll get a nice little glimpse of pit lane as we see our second handful of drivers on lap 44. Now, I would assume this is going to be the majority of the field with, like I said, I think about 5 or 6 of the cars that were up front came down with Skylar being the first one. Now we're going to start seeing the majority of the field come down pit road. We might see some stragglers stay out that are maybe just looking to pick up some bonus points. Maybe they don't feel they have the speed to get up front, so they want to pick up some bonus points. If you can lead a lap here at Talladega and then still finish, maybe P15, P20, that's a pretty good night for week 1. So we might see that. We see Alan Dixon still out onto the track. Not too sure if he's come down pit road yet in that 33 car. But it looks like he's all by himself as Matt Piercini, Scott McCarkis, Hayes Jr., and Willie Whitaker, who were in front of him, came down pit road. But I'm showing behind Alex Dixon, Skylar Carnes, the next car that's out on the track.
Great strategy execution there by that group of 5. I do know Skylar Carnes actually does have a spotter with him tonight, crew chief Josh Sintek, who does drive in real life up in Connecticut with modified cars. So he has a really good edge, especially on sim racing with strategy and such.
Yeah, and having a real-time spotter, I mean, a lot of sim drivers, including myself, on most tracks are comfortable enough with the crew chief apps that are out there, but on a track like this, with a season opener on the line, it's such an advantage to have a real-time spotter in your ear, spotting you in real time.
Oh yeah, most definitely, and certainly they would want to go out on top here on the season opener of season 20. Like, that is very good bragging rights to say, hey, I won the season opener in the 20th season of NTRL. Like, that's like a WWE championship belt you're putting around yourself. Not quite championship worthy, like a championship, but it's still a season opener, which is pretty darn well.
Yeah, we'll go with AEW championship belt on that. We see Brandon Ward in that 348, another triple-digit car, up 15 spots up into third. I'd be curious to see or to know if he's up 15 spots. Was he a driver that saw the leaders come in, who saw Skylar and Johnny and Sarge all come down pit road and came down at the same time? If so, what a move by Brandon Ward as he finds himself P3 and good to go on lap 46.
Yeah, most definitely. If he was able to catch that attention to detail there with them coming down pit road, and he's like, all right, well, let me go too. And yeah, so he's sitting in P3 right now. Like I said, that group of 5, they did a really great strategy, especially just going in early and all that. I'm really bad when it comes to strategy, so my intake is really, really bad, just for anybody out there. I know a lot about the racing atmosphere and such, and just racing in general, but when it comes to strategy, my brain is like...
Yeah, same here, which is why I prefer the booth. We will pull up the track map here on lap 47, just to show you guys at home how spread out this field is. I mean, we have cars literally at every aspect: turn 1, turn 2, 3, 4, front stretch, and back stretch. So this field definitely spreading out here on lap 48. That's going to encourage some green flag run here as everybody has come down and made their way on the green flag pit stop. And everybody who is way off pace right now are really going to have to try to work together, even if that means lifting off. I mean, if you're going down turn 3 and you got somebody on the middle of the backstretch, it's going to benefit you to lift off, lose some time, but to be able to connect with the cars behind you to try to get a train going to catch back up to these leaders. After the green flag shuffle of pit stops, it is Skylar Carnes back up into P1. You see the green and black car of Johnny Brugg, season 19 champion, certainly looking to make an impression here, week 1 of season 20. Brandon Ward sneaking his way up into the top 3. Gary Sargent in that 28 car in P4. Him and Will Jester, who's in 5th, are both up 11 spots. Matt Piercini up 7 in 6th. And Willie Whitaker, who did lead a few laps, was able to come down pit road under green and come out still 19 spots since the beginning of this race inside the top 10 in 7th place. So a good run for Willie Whitaker to be able to, obviously you know you're going to lose the lead coming down under green, but to be able to come out of pit road and still be in the top 10, pretty good move. So lap 50 complete. We are a bit of ways halfway through this race. We appreciate you guys tuning in over on the YouTube at No Toad Racing League. If you guys are watching from the Twitch, make sure you go over to their YouTube and hit that subscribe button. We will be multi-streaming the entire season on YouTube and on twitch.com at fadedtv__. We appreciate you guys no matter where you're tuning in here, as it's been a heck of a race so far. With that being said, I'm going to take a step back here on the booth, and hopefully it stays green under there. We'll be back into the booth in about 15 seconds.
All right.
All righty, making our way back into the booth. It's still green flag here at Talladega. Now, if you look at your track map, some of these cars doing exactly what we thought they would, allowing some of the cars to catch up to them, try to get into your own little pack and your own little rhythm. The more cars you have in a pack, the faster you're going to go to try to catch back up to the leader. So we were really spread out under green flag pit stops, which is expected. But now you see, instead of having 7 or 8 different packs of cars, that is now narrowed down to about 4 or 5 packs of cars.
Most definitely. And whichever pack has the most amount of cars within it will be the fastest pack to catch up to the main pack, which is probably going to take a little bit, but sooner or later you should see all of them come back up front. Probably in a little bit. You know what I mean by a little bit. Just a while, give it a little bit, everyone will be back up in the pack and such.
Yeah, absolutely. As we highlight Dustin Barton out of Messina, New York, he has climbed his way up 20 spots and has found himself into the top 10 for the first time tonight, I believe. Sitting there in P8, he's got Aaron Sire and Sid Kashishian behind him, 9th and 10th. So a great job so far from Dustin Barton, who I believe originally ranged from up north, up in Canada. Or maybe originally from New York and now in Canada, but not important. Dustin Barton, heck of a race so far, up 20 spots, sitting P8. A lot of these drivers that are cracking into the top 15, like Kevin Hansen, he's up 16 spots, in 16th, as we see Crutchley on the move, up 15 spots in his 48 Arca Chevrolet. He's sitting P14, fighting it out with Al Corey. So a rough night for that 5 car of Jacob Klinghardt, down 23 spots, finds himself a few laps down. Definitely not how he wanted to spend week 1 here at Talladega. Back up to the front, it's still Skylar Carnes, which if I had to take a guess, has probably led the majority of this race. And they're still battling it out up there. Johnny Brugg, Brandon Warr, Gary Sargent, and Will Jester in the top 5 as we start seeing a second round of green flag pit stops. So we'll get the race off pit road here. This is important, as we said at the earlier green flag pit stops. Everybody's going to have to come down under green, of course, unless there's a caution. So winning right now off of pit road is crucial under these green flag pit stops, as we see Skyler winning that race off from Johnny Brugg, so that you can maintain that P1 once we start shuffling everybody in and out.
I'm guessing everyone just pit again. I went in here for a second to get something to snack on, and I'm just coming back and seeing everyone coming out of pits.
Yeah, we had the leaders come down pit road just like we did a while back. Skyler Carnes, Johnny Brugg, Sarge coming down. He's part of that as well. Brandon Ward coming down pit road. Will Jester, Willie Whitaker. So Dustin Barton, who we talked about, showcased just a few laps ago. And Sid Kashishian now battling it out for P1. We see Brian Cooper up 28 spots momentarily in the 96. He's in P3. Michael McCuskey and Aaron Sire in the top 5. So we'll see how long these guys stay out. Lap 57 of 94.
Laps are winding down faster and faster, so we're going to see how strategy affects them. Like, I mean, personally, if I saw the leaders come down in the pit, I would want to be on the same strategy as them. I would have came down as well, but I would want someone to come with me, because if I'm just going to go down by myself, there is no point, because I'm going to be a sitting duck on the track, quick with everyone in their own little packs.
Yeah, you're going to be hurting. You definitely want to try to pit with as many guys as you can. And I think if, and I don't know how far that second pack was. Maybe you definitely don't want to pit if you're too far back, because then those guys are going to be off pit road by the time you hit in your pit box. But definitely, I like your style of thinking. If the race leader, Skyler Carnes, is pitting, if season 19 champion Johnny Brugg is pitting, maybe try to take advantage of that if you're not too far off pace. And instead of staying out, come down pit road with those guys, try to link up with that draft, because then you know you're going to be in that top 5, top 6 once these shuffles start taking place.
Most definitely. That's just critical thinking here, especially at a plate track, because since this is such a large track, if you get so far behind, and if you want to at least hit yourself a top 10, top 5, you got to make the most critical moves you think is right for yourself and right for the ones around you too. Like in a pack or such, especially with the leaders right now, it all comes down like, when do they want to pit? How are they going to be able to successfully perform it with being up front still and trying to make as much moves? Because if it all cycles around, we'll be seeing Brugg, Carnes, and others who just pit should come back out on top, unless someone is trying to be a daredevil and trying to push it to its limits just now.
Yeah, 100%. Right now, let's take a lap around with Season 9 champion Johnny Brugg around Talladega as we actually get onto the inside of his car in his cockpit. We'll switch through a couple of different angles for you guys as they are now joining the pack of the cars that stayed out. Here is the POV from Johnny Brugg.
You can see how he's on the bumper of the 47, keeping it nice and well he was, but that's how you push here. You got to lightly push them, and just make sure you don't push in corners, especially that is critical, pushing into corners, because then you might be able to turn someone on accident. That can cause another flare up in a wreck and a caution and bring everyone back together.
Yeah, and we see just how much finesse you have to have on your throttle here. Definitely something with these ARCA cars. I know from my Daytona experience, I mean, sometimes when you get caught up into the draft, you're almost running 50 to 60% throttle to avoid getting into the back end of these ARCAs.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
So that was a lap around Talladega from Johnny Brugg's perspective. He's right behind the 47 of Skylar Carnes, who has the most laps led here at Talladega. We are under green flag pit stops here, so some of these cars still coming or still having to come down pit road. But it looks like good news is that number 22 car finally back on lead pace here and actually leading the race after being involved in that first caution.
Really, really fortunate for him tonight with that first caution being in place.
Yeah, he is definitely the winner right now of the Lucky Dogs after that collision. He went a lap down here at Talladega. Ever since then, he's been keeping it cool in the back very, very wisely out of that 22 car. Is, like I said, not only back on the lead lap, but actually leading a lap at Talladega. So good job by that 22 car of Michael McCuskey.
I agree with that fully. How I see racing is, for the majority of the race, even if there's bonus points on the line, I mean, you still want to go for those bonus points, but the faster you all work together and try to cause as less accidents you can do, the faster the race will be able to get done, so you can move on to whatever else you want to do for the rest of your night, or just move on to something else. But if you keep trying to be aggressive, and that's one thing about me being in the booth, being aggressive, you just got to learn when to perfectly time it out.
Marty Rogers currently sitting in 8th where he qualified. I mean, it doesn't get any more consistent than that in that 27 Pennzoil ARCA car. So shout out to Marty Rogers, not gaining nor losing a spot currently. Obviously, that has fluctuated from time to time during the race. We just so happened to catch him at that moment where he is back up to P8, but a good run by Marty Rogers so far, lap 64, and it looks like here we go. Here comes about the 3rd or 4th pack down green flag pit stop.
This is going to shake the field up once again. And if a caution is to come out, everyone's going to be back together. Especially being on lap 63, you're going to see some drivers starting to be aggressive.
Yeah, we see Matt Puricini here picking up a sponsor for this season, Mid-South Sports Report Podcast. So shout out to those guys. Not sure if he's part of that podcast or some buddies of his, but shout out Mid-South Sports Report Podcast. And that 24 driver of Matt Puricini.
Beautiful scheme driven by him tonight.
Yeah, it really is a little bit of a throwback there in that multi-color ARCA, something that was very popular in the early 2000s. I see a lot of guys, well, just on Facebook, I suppose. I see a lot of the 87s. When I see a paint job being done by those 87s, those guys really like those cars to pop and be as colorful as possible. And we see so here in the ARCA division with a couple of these drivers with some multicolored paint schemes. A couple other guys like that 2 car at the bottom of the screen right now paying tribute to what may have been their favorite driver growing up in the early 2000s and so forth.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Whenever racing was at its peak, in NASCAR especially, now it's just, I don't even want to talk about it now.
As we see the 47 car of Skylar Carnes currently sitting P3, bringing Johnny Brugg and Brandon Ward, Willie Whitaker, Will Jester, and Gary Sargent behind those guys. Again, once Alan Dixon and Matt Puricini still having to come down pit road, those are going to be your race leaders there, those top 5, top 6, all being led by that 47 car of Skylar Carnes. It's going to be a real interesting finish with Johnny Brugg being able to be on his bumper pretty much this whole run here.
Most definitely, as we saw for the last race of season 19, Johnny Brugg was still there on the number 47 Skylar Carnes, and was able to take advantage. The pusher of the 47 last season was dropped down low. Skylar pushed him a little bit down on the inside, went underneath the double yellow, and Johnny Brugg was able to sneak past both of them and get the win.
Yeah, and it looks like Johnny Brugg, Skylar Carnes, and Brandon Ward gonna have a pretty good gap between themselves and Will Jester and Gary Sarge. Once these other cars start shuffling in, they're gonna have a pretty good sized gap running that top 3, top 4 cars.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Now Alan Dixon coming down pit lane as we speak. He's sitting as P1 right now. So it's probably going to change everything a little bit up with the pack right there with Brugg and Carnes.
Yeah, and that might give Matt Piracini the opportunity. Hasn't quite made the pass yet, but as he comes down across the front stretch, we'll see if he makes the pass on Alan Dixon. He does, so that's going to be a lap lead for Matt Piracini as he stays out in front of Skylar Carnes.
I want to get as many points as you can, especially in the season opener.
So it looks like right now the top 20, which is gatekept right now by James Lawson, I think might be where we start separating the lead lap cars from the lap down cars. I'll have to take another look at the relative, but from what my SDKI Racing live timing is showing me, it looks like those top 20 are on the lead lap. Everybody else playing catch up.
And now on lap 68, so at least got under 20 laps, somewhere around 20 laps to go. Drivers are now going to want to pick it up, but there's still plenty of racing left. You don't know what can happen at the end of the race, especially during the meantime. There could be another caution in one of the little miniature packs.
Yeah, 26 laps to go to be precise here. Nonetheless, running out of race here. But, I mean, this is a 2.5 mile track, so 26 laps is still going to last quite a bit. However, like you said, because we've had 2 green flag pit stops, all these cars are spread out, it's really going to be go time for some of these drivers that are outside the top 10 to try to get a good finish inside there. And the guys that are 6 through 10, they're really going to have to start pushing it and start thinking about making their move. And so, as you said, we might not be done with cautions here as we start coming to a close with 25 laps to go. These guys are really going to start pushing each other around this track.
And still, even though you're pushing, you still got to be very careful, especially if you're within that top 10, top 5 pack. You don't want to have any incidents happen between y'all because y'all have an easy, if everything goes your way, you're having it super easy right now since you're all in the top 5. Just make sure nothing incidental happens between that pack because then all the packs going to be back together and they're going to be racing harder, especially with the laps still winding down.
Yeah, so I know you had referenced that the glory days of NASCAR being in the old 2000s, the golden era of our lifetime, if you will, but not too high on today's NASCAR. Do you want to fill us in on a little bit of more feedback on your opinion of today's NASCAR and how you kind of shrugged it off there, my man?
Oh gosh, I completely hate the playoff format they have. It doesn't really decide a true champion. Back in 2018, I went to the Martinsville race and saw Logano punch his ticket into Homestead. And I'm a Busch fan, so I wasn't really happy about that, especially Kyle having like one of the best averages with the Big Three that season. That's whenever I woke up, I was like, this playoff format is horrible. NASCAR trying to change it up every week with the rules changes and such, and just their officiating skills now. Like you've seen at past races like New Hampshire where they didn't call out the caution whenever the driver was completely said the track is wet. The horrible curve at Indianapolis, which took out Logano, Busch, Byron, all of them, that Truex had a lap before that drivers were complaining about. This NASCAR is not the way it used to be like whenever I was growing up. That's whenever it was exciting, whenever it was at like its peak, especially around the 2006 era, whenever NASCAR had at least 19 million watching the Daytona 500.
Yeah, do you think Jimmy Johnson plays any part of that as far as the new playoff rules and the championship rules?
Oh yeah, major. Like Kevin Harvick stated last season, and going out with with playoffs, it's not the way how it used to be, like winning championships, and how Jimmy Johnson really did it and just was able to capture like all those trophies with that playoff format. It just proved that he was the best driver. Like you got to be consistent and stay within that points bracket, well, just points in total the whole season. Because if now in NASCAR you can win one race and just sit in the back of the pack and be fine until playoffs come around. That's what Tony Stewart did and took advantage of it.
Yeah, Tony Stewart, one of my favorite drivers as well, taking full advantage of that playoff format. Now doing his own thing with the SRX series, which I think is a great racing league and could be even better. So I'd be interested to see that league grow. But yeah, I definitely feel you on that. Back in the day, you had to show up, race week in and week out. And now we have the win and you're in. And of course, Kyle Larson trying to do his best to be the new face of NASCAR, being successful so far, winning just everything that he hops into. So if there's one bright spot of NASCAR, it's definitely coming from that number 5 car of Hendrick Motorsports, putting on a show, whether it's a dirt car, on Sundays, Saturdays, that guy's just tearing it up. But back to the virtual NASCAR, if you will, here in the ARCA Series, No Toad Racing League, celebrating their 20th season here at Talladega. 21 laps to go, and I'll be honest, I'm surprised that Matt Piracini has been able to stay out so long, unless I missed it. And I do have a driver in red, so we're actually going to break from this live action. We're going to go back and look at a replay involving Scott McCarris. I hope, anyways.
Yeah, I saw a driver at the backstretch all the way at the inside wall.
Yeah, here we go. He's racing with that Miller Genuine Draft, and that was just an intentional wreck by that number 2 car. Miller Genuine Draft not liking Budweiser, and that was clearly an intentional wreck, and I'm sure that number 2 car will most certainly be penalized this week. Just unfortunate when you see that. I'm not a big fan of that in sim racing at all. So that's just unfortunate and shameful, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, as we have the lead pack coming down pit road once again. Just gonna point that out, but.
Yeah, and led by Matt Piracini. So I was under the impression that Matt hadn't pitted yet, and I still think that I'm right with that. But we see him come down pit road, and like you said, these Brandon Ward and Johnny Brugg and Skylar Carnes coming down with him as what presumably will be, I think, their last pit stop, unless, of course, we do see a late caution. Somebody wants to come down if there's any tire sets available. These guys coming into tonight with 4 sets plus the ones that they show up with. So are these guys coming down pit road for the last time if we stay green here?
Possibly like, how many laps do we have left?
We have 19 laps to go.
I believe that should be the last one, unless like we keep having cautions over and over and over, like it happened at the ending of Daytona last season. This should be, if I'm calculating it right, should be our last caution. If not, then
yeah,
we'll see another one.
And Matt Piracini, by the way, being the big winner there, because I thought he was going to have to come down pit road before Skylar Carnes, Ward, McCuskey, Brugg, Sarge, that group. I thought he was going to come down pit road while they stayed out and took back over the race. But Matt Piracini, able to stay out long enough, he had to have come down pit road, and we missed it when the rest of those guys did. And if that's the case, I apologize for missing that to the viewers at home. But Matt Piracini right now taking full advantage, and he's right now out in front of Skylar Carnes in 10th, as these other drivers in front of him are going to have to start coming down pit road here relatively soon.
Oh, yeah. As we've seen it all night, this lead pack should cycle back to them. And Matt Piracini, really good strategy by him. leading this pack.
And he kind of came out of nowhere, right? I mean, the majority of this race has been the guys that maybe we expected to be up there with Skylar Carnes and most certainly Johnny Brugg. Brandon Ward, though, also came out of nowhere. That last green flag pit stop was able to maintain pace with Carnes and Brugg. And then all of a sudden, Matt Piracini out of nowhere leading a ton of laps and going to be in a good position, under 10 laps to go to have a chance to win this thing.
Most definitely. If he can certainly keep it chill, take the chill pill, and just keep it cool, make sure, especially whenever the laps are winding down and whenever it cycles back towards him, not to let those drivers behind him get really antsy, like he's going to have to start blocking and such. But there's still a lot of laps winding down towards that moment. But if I was him, I wouldn't focus on it right now. I'd keep it easy. Make sure you just keep your car straight, keep it clean, all that. When it jump to the ending of the race and think, I would think about how I would execute and be able to stay up front. But if you're doing it right now, you're doing it certainly well.
Yeah, and I don't want to send out a broadcaster's curse right now, but I do want to tip my hat to all the drivers on the track tonight. We have only had 2 cautions at Talladega with the ARCA cars in a 97-lap race, and that is just really, really good. And, I'm looking at the I ratings, and I won't get into too specifics here, but these guys with only 2 cautions, you would think, over 2K, 2,500, 3,000 I rating, the majority of these drivers, believe it or not, are around that 1,200 to 1,500 I rating. And I tell you what, man, I am so impressed with all these drivers out here on a super speedway with the ARCAs only having 2 cautions so far.
I know, and especially those cautions being early, really early. And now after they're able to learn the lesson, and whenever I told you everyone is going to have to play it safe since the majority of the field lost their fast repair except for stars that we've known of. Now they're able to keep their cars straight, they're only in the past, be able to get strategy out of the way and such. Well, they're still in the way, but able to just maneuver, and especially with how many rookies are in this field tonight. It's impressive. I agree with you fully on that.
Yeah, as we take a look from our chopper cam here, this is currently the top 7 drivers being led by Brian Cooper, Al Corey in that 7th spot in the back of this little group here. But these guys have been holding this 3 wide here for multiple laps as we come to the conclusion of this race with 14 laps to go. Everybody trying to gain as much of an advantage as they can to try to get some good track positioning here. I'm sure some of these cars still having to make their way down pit road under green, might try to stay out as long as they can, see if they can pick up a cheap caution, I like to call it. It's not a knock on the drivers, but when you're out there leading the race, the guys behind you have already come down pit road to hit their green flag pit stop, and you're out there leading the race. You're looking for that cheap caution, right? You want that to drop, be able to come down, not take a lap down, and be able to freely go through your pit stop.
Most definitely. They're taking a huge gamble on it right now. We're rolling to paradise, seeing if it goes right in the favor.
So we have 19 cars on the lead lap. Kendall Kerr back here in 19th. Most certainly, Alex Goff, which I believe is the first car a lap down, he's certainly looking for that caution as he can get a lucky dog off of that. You see some cars coming off pit road there, some cars staying up high, letting these drivers come through too wide. But if there's anybody that wants a caution, it's going to be that driver that's sitting there in that lucky dog spot as well.
Most definitely. But I also do want to point out that pack of Brugg, Carnes, and Crusini, that they have extended to a 13-car pack, single file. So,
yeah, let's take a look at that. As he says, that's, I believe, Willie Whitaker and Matt Piracini leading the charge on this pack right here. This has all the hitters in it. Willie Whitaker, McCuskey, Carnes, Sarge, Brandon Ward, Johnny Brugg, Willie Jester. These are all the hitters right here who have been up front the majority of this race. And again, shout out to that 24 car turning it on late. And he's going to put himself in a position as we see some of these drivers now, like Aaron Sire, who was leading the race just for a quick second, coming down pit road. That's going to give it up to the 33 car of Alan Dixon, who's found himself actually with quite a bit of laps led here. He's not going to be able to challenge Skylar Carnes for the most laps led, but it seems like every time we come down these green flag pit stops, Alan is out there running about 4, 5, 6 laps as the race leader. So good job by Alan Dixon. We'll see where it plays out at the end of the race, where he is as we're coming up on 10 laps to go.
With 10 to go, I always say this, and I said it earlier with aggressiveness. I always have to stress that because some drivers can be too over aggressive during the race. You've got to learn how to maintain it and how to play and execute it right. If you're too aggressive, then you're just going to wreck the field, and you're going to have some off-track commotions after the race. But if you're able to play it right, use some aggression to your favor. I wouldn't use it too early. Use it too early, the driver you've done a move to will come back and bite you back in your butt. But if you play it right at the right time, you'll be able to win the race and score a victory under your name.
Yeah, most certainly. And we're talking last lap, turn 3 is really when you want to turn that on. And it's going to be hard with just 3 laps remaining. When you get a run, you're going to want to try and take advantage of that. But like you just said, you certainly don't want to do it too soon. You just want to make sure you're in position on that final lap on the backstretch to be able to get a run going into turn 3 and out of turn 4. Because like you said, once you're out of that draft, it could gobble you up before you even come to that finish.
Most definitely. But now, I want to say this, a lot of the cars are backing a pack towards each other, so we're going to be set up for a really great finish here. I think I heard someone's engine blown. I could be wrong, but it sounded like that. But everyone is backing a pack here for under 10 laps to go. It's going to be a lot of critical thinking here, playing it safe, especially with I just gave the speech of aggressiveness and how you handle it. I agree with the last lap, turn 3. Perfect timing.
We see the 33 car of Alan Dixon, currently your race leader. And then after that, that's where the guys really come into play here with Michael McCuskey.
Oh! We have some commotion on the back. 2 drivers slammed into each other. Is this going to play out as a late race caution? I don't see any indicators of a caution out right now. That's what I'm talking about. Drivers getting antsy.
That's Dustin Barton, looks like crashed. I can't believe that's not a caution. That wasn't down on the infield. They were way up there on the wall. But it looks like we're going to stay green with 8 laps to go. Let's take it back. Let's see if we can get this from Dustin's view here. You see the cars back there. I'm not too sure who was involved. But somebody got totally rear-ended.
Yeah.
Might have been John Campbell. Let's go back and take a look at that from his perspective. I think I'm not going to be able to get a good look since it didn't come under caution. But most certainly, 3 cars wrapped up into that little incident there, and we are still green. And, bad luck for that 22 car. We had just talked about he was caught up in that early caution, was a lap down, maybe multiple early on into the race, kept fighting, got back onto the lead lap, actually led a lap, and here he is with no quick repair late in the race. That's going to be his night done.
Yep, unfortunate night here for the 22, trying to make a name for himself later, coming back from that first wreck of the caution that we had this afternoon, and it seems like I was going down. So,
it's curious. Alan Dixon just went down pit road, but when he came down pit road, he was about 35, 36 seconds in front of this charge here by Willie Whitaker. Even if he can get back on pit road in a decent time, he is a single car. He is going to get absolutely swallowed by this 2-wide pack being led again by Brandon Ward and Willie Whitaker.
Which definitely we'll see him on the pack right there. I mean, if he wanted LePage, he would have done it so, but
and there it is.
Yep, like you just said, just like that, and I don't think he's gonna have enough momentum, but there's still plenty of racing, but he's gonna be so far behind, especially just being one car compared to 12 or so right there in that pack up front. But now, since that pack knows they have the leader in front of them, they're going to want to decide which lane they want to go into, which one will be the best lane that will prevail at the end of this race.
You know, that seemed like a relatively long pit stop. Pit stop's usually about 13 seconds max. He came down pit road with a 36-second lead and wasn't off pit road before these guys passed him. I wonder if he stayed in, got some optional repairs done on his car, getting ready to lead a charge here with 5 laps to go.
Yeah, that's another head scratcher. I wonder the same thing too if he got into some little accidents that we weren't able to pay attention to. So yeah, I agree with that. That is a long pit stop.
So new race leader Brandon Ward in that 348 car. That number 30 is not for position. That is a lapped car, but nonetheless, still going to be an important part with 5 laps to go. Whether or not he's a lap down does not matter. Brandon Ward going to hook up to the back bumper of that 30 car and be able to work that draft. He's got Johnny Brugg behind him out of the outside. The 24 Puricini. Sorry, I just butchered that. Puricini losing the lead here. You see him in that 24 car on the inside of Brugg. So definitely taking advantage of some of these lapped cars, being able to pull these lead lap cars around the track.
That's a good thing. Like I've seen drivers do this before a lot in my past with lap cars in front of them, especially at plate tracks, because you're able to get the draft in front of them and just be able to push them and be able to extend your lead. But it seems like that lap car is holding them up a little bit, and that puts the 24 back in first, it seems, right now.
Well, actually, the 37 of Willie Whitaker. Yeah, no, you're fine. Nonetheless, though, the 24 car going to have a huge advantage, as you are right. That 30 car played it okay for about a lap and a half, but it did look like he was being held up. You see 4 wide here at Talladega with 3 laps to go. The pressure's on. You see Clarence all the way up onto that high line behind that 348. He's going to work that side draft. We'll see what he does. He might fall. Might have to lift here and dip down low.
Woo! Oh, a little bit of bump. Oh! Tight squeeze there. He was going drifting everywhere. A little bit of damage, it seems like, on some of those cars. Just a little tad bump. Oh.
Yeah, I don't mean to break character up here in the broadcast booth, but when you see something like that, I mean, if you don't get excited about racing, you shouldn't be watching. That was exciting nonetheless. 2 laps to go. 37 car of Willie Whitaker, currently your leader, but you can see these guys are 3 wide. See if we can get a better angle from TV2 here, just to show you guys. I mean, we are 3 wide, but we might even go 4 wide on this last lap.
Goosebumps everywhere on me. I can't go them down. It's been a while since I broadcasted iRacing, and I don't remember why I did it, because the excitement, especially coming towards the last laps, it's just everyone puts all out into it. They look at all elite.
Coming out of turn 4 onto the front stretch, it's going to be Johnny Brugg, season 19 champion, taping the white flag. We have Brandon Ward, Skylar Clarence, Willie Whitaker, Aaron Sire, Matt Puricini, Brian Cooper, all in this group up here. Looks like that high line getting a good run there momentarily. That's Matt Brugg in the black and green car. Skylar Clarence behind him, trying to get a push. So far, the inside line of Brandon Ward. We do get a big final wreck out of the backstretch out of the last lap.
I knew it. I was thinking of it. Oh my!
And Skylar Carnes making it through there. We're going to take a replay when the race is done. But we are green flag racing coming out of turn 4. The 47 of Skylar Carnes being pushed by Matt Puricini. Brendan Ward under the outside trying to get a run. Can he get P2?
It's this tribal. Carnes is going to have to block it. We might be seeing those.
And Skylar Carnes, excuse me, gonna take Talladega week 1 of No Toad Racing League's 20th season. We have got to go back and look at that replay as some real key players involved in that. Of course, we were on the white flag. There's not going to be any cautions thrown. I want to see just how Skylar Carnes was able to make it through there. Brandon Ward with a strong P2. Matt Puricini in P3. Gary Sargent making it through there. Willie Whitaker going to be top 5. He's up 21 spots from where he started this race, and he's coming home top 5. What a great run by Willie Whitaker. In 6, going to be Will Jester, Alan Dixon, Johnny Brugg. Looks like he disconnected with the quickness. Still going to finish P8. So a good run by Brugg. Obviously, Trey, he wanted to be there fighting it out of turn 4, and we got caught up on the backstretch. We will watch Skylar Carnes burn down the house in his celebration. We'll go back and take a look at the replays. We'll get some post-race interviews for you. But right now, all eyes on your brother, Skylar Carnes.
I also want to point out that whenever he crossed the line, I'm upstairs. I am all the way upstairs in my own room, and I heard him yelling downstairs. So
with the headset on.
Yeah. So we know how much this win means to him.
So I'm going to grab, when he's done burning the house down, we'll get him in for an interview here momentarily. But I want to go back and see if we can take a look at this. I'm not too sure when it started because the caution didn't come out. So I'm going to have to try to find my drivers in red in my SDK iRacing live timing and see just when this started. Let's go back and take a look at Dustin Barton. Okay, so that we saw that. That was what we thought originally might have put out a caution. It did not. So let's try to work back through here. Just trying to catch it for you guys. Oh, man.
Wow.
Yeah, what a turn of events. So there was the white flag. Here we go. I think this might be it. Here's yes, this is the beginning of it. Aaron Sayers in that 73 car. We saw Johnny Brugg wrapped up into that. John Barton, Brian Cooper's involved.
Whew.
Might have to take a look at this from the chopper cam just to see everybody involved in that. Let's throw on the chopper cam. Let's go back up and look at this Aaron Sayre. This is where it all started. You see the 24 car getting into him. That's what pushes up into Johnny Brugg. After that, it was just mayhem. And what a fine job by Skylar Carnes, Brandon Ward, Matt Puricini to be driving through that to be able to take home your top 3. I mean, just phenomenal there.
I knew a late race caution, well, not really caution, I knew on the last lap, but that's whenever you got to watch out for your aggressiveness. Like I stress, like just incidents like that can take you out, especially at a plate racing track. Because Johnny Brugg, he was unfortunate events unrolled for him, still able to finish within the top 10, I believe, but it's just another major wreck, and that was our 3rd wreck of the night of big wreck of the night on the last lap. Unfortunate for the guys who were in that pack, but that's what happens whenever you race too hard and just watch out carelessly. But that's racing. That's why we all tune in and watch it.
Yeah, now speaking of the drivers that weren't involved in that, able to wiggle around that, it's going to be your 3rd place driver, Matt Puricini in the 24 car. Matt, you got a copy?
Yeah, I do. Go ahead.
Let me switch up my cameras actually so we can have some There we go. We'll put it on scenic so we'll be able to hear you a little bit better. So the very beginning of that race looked like it was going to be dominated by eventual race winner Skylar Carnes. About halfway through that race, you were able to build some momentum, get back up into first place. Everybody came down under green at the same time. Talk to us a little bit about the run that you had in the middle of that race and when you found yourself P1, and then talk to us even more about that last wreck on the backstretch on that last lap.
Well, it was kind of like once we got going there with the Mid-South Sports Report Chevrolet on that middle run there, we started to get a good run, and finally was able to get hooked up with Skylar and Johnny and Brandon there, and the four of us kind of took the lead there, and we were able to run basically nose to tail for lap after lap, and was really able to kind of get some good speed and put some good laps down and put some distance between the field. Problem is of course, when you're the lead car, you burn a lot more fuel than everybody else. So in that last run with about 5 to go, I had to back out of the lead because I was going to be short on fuel. So saved as much as I could. Really hate it that I got into Willie there on the last lap. He got loose in front of me, and I hit the brakes and hoped I was going to miss him, but unfortunately I didn't. Luckily, it was only him that I ended up getting, and he spun to the infield. I don't know what happened with the rest of the guys, but it was a good run. I'll take a third out of Talladega any day.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Way to avoid that. And things happen. Racing incidents happen, especially on the last lap of a plate race here at Talladega. Week 1 of P3's got to feel good, Matt. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. And we'll let you go celebrate.
Perfect. Thanks very much.
All right, Trey, I'm going to let you do this interview with second place driver Brandon Ward. I'm going to pull him into the booth. He's all yours, my man.
All right, Brandon, welcome up to the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, Brandon Ward, it's the booth. You got a copy, my man? All righty, we will throw him back down into the podium finishers right now. We're going to be pulling in Trey Carnes' brother, Skylar Carnes. Skylar, you got a copy?
I do.
Hey, before I let your brother give you a couple of questions, he said that he could hear you celebrating down in the basement, even with his headset on. Most certainly a deserved win there in that 47 car. I would guess you led the majority of the race, although Matt Piercini might give you a run for that. Phenomenal finish for him. But you lost your drafting partner and friend pretty early on into the race in that 8 Budweiser car. But it seemed like that didn't really affect you. The race went on. You executed your green flag pit stops beautifully. Obviously, pretty much the top 5, top 6 drivers, you all stayed together under green. Talk to me a little bit, not only about winning the race, but I mean, just avoiding these wrecks and making sure that you had a run at the end.
Oh, I don't know where to start. After Jaden turned me, he didn't know that these cars, you couldn't really bump. Like, he was giving me little bumps, but I told him, I didn't really tell him, but I was about to queue up over the mic after he kept getting me loose after him to stop bumping, because if you do it one more time, you're probably going to spin me. And I should have said it a little earlier because he did spin me. But after that, Sarge and Johnny Brugg stayed out, so I went with them after I got my fast repair, 4 tires and fuel. I went in with them whenever they pitted on that green flag run. I talked with my spotter, Josh Zentech, and he's like, "Yeah, let's do it. We'll stay with the fast guys, and we'll go with them." And it turned out to be perfect. We saved enough fuel, and we just had, we gained seconds with each other, and I tried to stay out front. And then whenever we were getting close on fuel near the end, I let Matt run in the front, so that way I can be behind him and save enough fuel. That way I have enough just in case the green white checker comes out or something like that. But other than that, we had to get to the high line somehow because that inside line wasn't moving on the last little bit. As soon as Josh told me, "Hey, we're clear, get behind Brugg," I did that. But then we had the lap car, the 30, in front, and they were just, nobody was going anywhere. So I tried to do something and tried to go high. We made it 3 wide, almost 4 wide twice, and we somehow survived that. And then I realized, nobody's going to try to help me up here. I need to get back on, behind Brugg because he just cleared uh, the 037, I believe. I don't know what his number is truly, but just cleared him, and Brugg's now there. I'm like, all right, me and Brugg can get out in front and we'll battle at the end. We just so happened the 24, Will Jester actually in front of the 24 just got loose, and the 24 bumped him and sent him. And luckily, Josh was screaming in my ear, go low, 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 hold it low, stay there. And then as soon as we got clear, he said, hold the low line. There's just 3 of you. And I just held the low line, and oh my God, I was screaming because this is my first super speedway win on the sim. And I'm just,
Wait, are you for real?
yes.
Oh.
I have been a bridesmaid at Daytona plenty of times, been in the top 3, never have taken a win, and I've done it here tonight in NTRL, and I'm just so excited.
Trey, you got anything to wrap up this interview before we send Skylar off with much congratulations?
What was the feeling whenever you crossed that finish line, knowing that you won your first super speedway in iRacing?
Well, Trey,
I heard it downstairs, but I want to know what was going through.
As you heard it, I was screaming. I was saying, "Oh my God, oh my God." I just freaking won at a super speedway. The luck was there tonight, finally. And Josh and I were both screaming. We freaking did it and just had a time. I'm glad I got to burn it down in our newly designed Trey Car Designs Pontiac Grand Prix. Definitely want to thank everybody in the NTRL here tonight, all the new guys coming in. It might just need to take it a little bit easier, get the nerves out of the way. That's the first race of the season. Definitely want to thank all, the fans of the 47 TKD machine watching at home. I definitely want to thank you two for putting on the broadcast tonight. It's been a blast. I was tuning in and out during cautions and just listening in. It was a fun first race, and I can't wait to get the rest of them out of the way with the boys here.
Yeah, and I certainly don't want to get too corny here or too sentimental, but obviously you're a second generational driver here at No Toad Racing League. Your father running with these guys, one of the originals, one of the OGs here at No Toad Racing League. What does it mean for you with that relationship to get an invite into a league like this? Your dad, obviously being here before you, and to be able to, what I think a milestone victory here. Not too many leagues make it past 8 or 9 seasons, let alone season 20, the 20th anniversary of No Toad Racing League at Talladega, and Skylar Carnes wins the race. What does it mean for you on a sentimental or a personal note with your dad being so involved in sim racing?
It definitely is up there more than any of my favorite wins out there. My Bristol wins, that's my home track. I love it to death. But this is now on top because my dad, when I was a wee little 2-3-year-old, he was sitting at the computer racing with my uncle Wayne Hayes. His name was Juicy or whatever. You had a mispronunciation.
Yeah, I apologize.
That's all right. I don't know how to pronounce it either. But Wayne and him were best friends, and they ran this league back in the day. My dad didn't really do too hot, but he ran my favorite driver's car, the 18 Bobby Labonte. So he ran that, and nowadays I won't run the 18 because Kyle Busch runs it. So I drive Bobby Labonte's old number, 47. So that's my staple number, and I just went with it. But just to win in a league that's been around for 20 seasons, they had a break midway through, but to come back during, the start of the pandemic and just thrive off of NR 2003 again, and to be invited by Wayne to get to come race with these guys and just become really good friends with them, and to have fun week in and week out racing with these guys, it's an honor. It really is an honor.
Yeah, absolutely. Skylar, as we let you go, season 20, week 1 winner at Talladega. Congratulations. Again, it didn't come out of nowhere. Consistent all night long, being able to stay out of trouble for the most part, taking advantage of that one quick repair. Congratulations, Skylar, on a hell of a run. Exciting race to watch. Congrats. Go celebrate with your brother, your family, your friends, and we'll catch you next week.
Thank you, boys. We'll see you at Hotlanta.
All righty. So, Trey, I'm going to let you do this interview with Brandon, and then we'll go to our wrap-up.
All right, Brandon, you got a copy up here in the booth?
I got you guys if you got me.
All right. Guide us through that last lap. What was going through your mind, especially if that late race wreck happening on the backstretch?
I mean, to be completely honest, I was just holding on for dear life. You know, I had the lap car in front of me, you know, those last 5 laps or so, and he was queuing up on the radio that he was going to duck out with about 3 to go. I was kind of hoping he hung on because, you know, we were able to keep it tight there. But then we had the lap car that we caught up to, took us 4 wide and kind of broke everybody up. And from there on, I was literally just hanging on. You know, happened to get the run to get me to the front at the bottom. And then, just hang on for dear life and pray I didn't get took out.
Yeah, Brandon, I kind of stepped away while he asked your question. But just overall, I mean, you know, finishing podium here week 1, obviously that's going to set the tone for you moving forward. I know plate racing can be random. Somebody can do really good at a super speedway to open up the season and then maybe start trickling down a little bit. Not saying that's your case at all. But my main point is finishing a podium here week 1, Talladega, definitely setting the tone for the rest of the week, for the rest of the season. After tonight's race, what's your mindset? I mean, are you going to be practicing more, knowing now, hey man, I started off with a bang. I got to grind. I got to make sure that I'm getting some hot laps in on my own time, or, you're just going to go about your business.
I mean, I'll be honest, this is my rookie season with these guys. So I'm really grateful to just, have a solid league with a good field to run with. I totally came into this expecting to leave with the top 10 and be happy with it. So getting out of here in second is awesome. But I really have no expectations going on to the season. Just a couple practice races that we've ran the past couple weeks leading into the season opener, trying to get a feel for everybody is really all I've got to go on. So we'll see. I mean, I'll definitely be taking part in practices on Wednesday nights to make sure I'm ready for the next week to come. But mine's completely open right now. So,
all right, man. Congratulations getting a top 3 here, a week 1 at Talladega. It's certainly hard earned. Super speedway races are not for the faint of heart. Very exciting to watch, but could be a little nerve-wracking driving. So congratulations, Brandon Ward, and we'll move on to next week. So that was second place driver Brandon Ward. Trey, what are your overall thoughts here? We only saw 2 cautions throughout the entire night. I'm looking at the Discord chat right now. We got some guys fired up that the cautions weren't going out. I mean, that's speedway racing, of course. I got involved at Daytona last week, as I mentioned a couple of times, running at Daytona. Got wrecked when I was P1, no caution. That's just how these super speedways fly. But overall, the competitiveness of tonight and just the clean racing, 2 cautions out of 97 laps at a super speedway is just really darn good.
Definitely. Countering that late race caution, like just forgetting about that, just with 2 wrecks, mainly the race, they were able to hold it together. Yeah, we had some gags up, like with the 50, like the Pepsi car, I can't remember what number that was, up there in 3 and 4. No caution was called there, but it was a little caution, just little incidents like that, like really great start to the season here. And it's just going to get better out. Like some of these new guys, it's the first race of the season. Like Brandon said, the nerves and everything, or Skylar, I think one of the 2 said that. They're going to be nervous for these first couple of races, and then you're going to see their potential keep going on and on and on as the races progress. But especially for this race, I was a huge fan of it. I haven't watched sim racing fully since the pandemic, whenever quarantine just hit, and just coming back to it and just feeling like I'm back at home, back at North Horse, just in a different league. It's a surreal moment for me, especially seeing my brother win. keeping it unbiased and everything, though. It was a great race. If that late race caution, or not caution, just that late race wreck didn't happen on the backstretch, I guarantee you we could have saw a better finish and such, probably like a 4 wide of the line. I'm thinking unrealistically, but it was a great race in my opinion. I can't wait to see what else this season has in store for the both of us and the other commentator that might pop in and out. It was just fun commentating this and just trying to get used to the commentating senses once again.
Yeah, absolutely. An amazing night here at Talladega Superspeedway opening up next week. We move on to the Stay Puft 200, sponsored by Jason Benson. That's going to be at Atlanta Motor Speedway, or as we like to call it, Hotlanta here in the community. I'm looking forward to that. So make sure you're turning on notifications for the Twitch viewers. Make sure you're hitting that sub button and the bell and the thumbs up on these videos. It goes a long way over on the YouTube as far as the algorithm goes to try to get as many viewers for this quality content. So slap that thumbs up button on YouTube. Subscribe if you haven't already. 8/29 next week, Atlanta Motor Speedway. We appreciate you guys tuning in on what was an exciting night of racing. We'll be back live next week. We'll see you then.